speak.
Hi, everyone. So welcome to this How to Study Strategy session. So a couple things that we're going to talk about today is strategy, how to use the badge challenge system um, to your benefit. So we're going to think about strategy in two ways. We're going to think about it globally over the rest of the semester, and we're going to think about it locally just for this particular badge challenge. We're also going to talk about how to prepare for each badge that you select. And then lastly, we're going to talk about fighting zombies, a skill any statistician needs to have.
So folks, this is what we call the badge to points matrix. And you can find this on the course webpage in the badge challenges page. So let's set a couple of benchmarks. Remember that this course is SU, pass, fail. If all you're interested in is passing this course, a benchmark is 32 points. You've got to earn 3 golds, 5 silvers, 4 bronze, and have up to 3 cannot assess. That's what the X stands for. But let's say we want to have a different benchmark of 36 points. If in badge challenge 2, you've earned, for example, 2 golds, in a certain sense, you can think of it as you've banked these golds, meaning you don't have to touch that badge again for the rest of the semester. So you've got to earn 5 more golds, and depending on how your other badges went, that's what you have to do. So the idea is you can be strategic. You can narrow your focus. You can pick what you want to study and focus on whatever you're ready to study. Professor Canary, why don't you take over?
So you mean, Prof. Kim, I don't have to attempt all 10 questions on that second badge challenge? I can just attempt 2 or 3?
Well, the thing is, you can attempt up to 7. We're doing that for 2 reasons. A, because that's going to keep the time frame of this short. But also B, in our experience, students who try to do more than 7 badges stretch themselves out too thin. So folks, be strategic and pick out 7 badges that you want to study.
Okay, but if I'm only doing 7, you might be wondering, how could I possibly get to the 15 badges or less that I want? And so this is where Prof. Kim's point about strategy is so important. So one way that we can think about it is that we've already had badge challenge 1. That one is done. But we have 3 more to go. We have badge challenge 2, badge challenge 3, and badge challenge 4. Using this idea of banking based on whatever happened here, fit those scores into the matrix line that you're interested in. So for example, the one we were looking at was the 36 points, 7, 5, 2, and 1. So if I want 7 gold, 5 silver, 2 bronzes, and 1 cannot be assessed. Even if what you got on badge challenge 1 was something like, let's say for example, 2 bronzes and a can't be assessed, look, you could bank those and still be on track to get your 36 points. So in thinking about your strategy, you should think about how am I going to spread out my studying. So we've already told you the 15 things you need to know. And so you can start to spread out and be strategic. Ask yourself the question, uh, which badges up to 7 am I ready to study this time? And so you can select a few badges for here, a few badges for here, and then really all you're using Badge Challenge 4 for is a way to edit, upgrade, or polish. So I like to think of this one as the upgrade and polish badge challenge. Here you're just adding in the last couple to get the score that you want.
And remember, folks, Badge Challenge 4 is strictly optional. If you've locked in and banked all your badges in Badge Challenge 2 and Badge Challenge 3, then you are done.
So good. Ooh, my handwriting is too bad. We'll just move on. Okay, so for Badge Challenge 2, when we think locally about our structure, the first thing we want to do is know which badges are available. So on Badge Challenge 2, it's only the first 10 badges of the class. So the bottom 5, we haven't touched at all. So looking at the remaining 10 badges, these first 5, these debuted on Badge Challenge 1. Then the next 5, all 10 of these are on Badge Challenge 2. So these are the 10 that you're picking from. So our first recommendation for approaching Badge Challenge 2 is list the badges you want to attempt and in order. If you haven't noticed, I love the central limit theorem. So if I were to make my list, I would probably want to go for badge 9 first. And you can't really talk about the central limit theorem without talking about the sampling distribution or badge 7 badge 8 is sampling distribution. And maybe I'm really jazzed about that interaction stuff we did, which is badge 6. Now, last time, perhaps on the first badge challenge, I attempted a couple of the questions and I want to do a little bit of polishing. So now I feel really ready to slay grammar of graphics and to look at regression. So that's going to be badge 4 and badge 5. And, you know, I want another go at badge 2. Now notice I've only listed out 7 badges. I'm going to be focusing on 7 things. I'm not focusing on all 10. Also, again, there is a limit. Remember, you can only hand in at the end of phase 3 7 badges. So in particular, it's important to write out in the order you want to attempt them so you know how you want to focus. I'm specifically making sure I focus on some from this new section as well as a couple from the older section. But again, I pre-made a strategy of how I want to move forward through this system. So once you have your list, so writing out my list again, I've got the ones that I'm interested in. I'm just going to circle those in red, 8 and 9, 4, 5, and 6, and number 1. I think that was my list, right? Yes. Oh, and 2. Okay, so now, how do I actually study once I picked out my list? So here's my list. What should I do first, Prof. Kim?
Well, you should match up the colors of the badges to the lecture schedule. So for example, all the red match up on the left, match up with the red on the right. Same thing goes for regression in blue. I'm sorry, the red is data viz, blue is modeling, green is sampling, and yellow is just the start of confidence intervals.
Yeah, so notice that in my image, we've cut off both the length of the lecture schedule, and we've also cut off the number of badges, just so you're seeing the pieces that are relevant for this badge challenge. Now, once you've matched your colors, you can also get even more specific looking at exactly what each lecture was about to sort of get finer grain in terms of which one are 1 and 2. Additionally, each lecture has attached to it the reading schedule. So now for each badge, oops. So you want to match to the lecture. And now some of our lectures are online, so you can watch us over and over and over again. You can match to the reading, including the learning checks. Ooh. And to the problem sets. And the problem sets are the next column over that's not shown here. So you want to match to each one of these things. But another thing to keep in mind, remember that badge challenge 1 contained badges 1 through 5. So we also recommend for these ones, take a good look at the questions.
Because these questions might come back from the dead.
Oh, zombies. So what are zombie questions? Zombie questions are questions lifted directly from badge challenge 1 and dropped on badge challenge 2. We will note that we will fix any typos. But yep, we have promised you that we're going to lift questions and we're going to drop them directly on badge challenge 2. So just as a warning, we don't call these zombie questions because we think it's funny. But just like regular zombies, only approach a zombie question if you are certain, you know, you can slay it. So to that end, you are welcome to talk to us about edits you've made to that question. Ask any of the instructor team, talk it over with a fellow statistician, dig into those questions. We want to remind you that zombies are real. They do come back from the dead from the previous badge challenge and can drop onto another one. So that's what we have, but we want to remind you of 2 resources you have available at your fingertips.
The questions channel in Slack and the in-person Zoom sessions, folks. Please use these resources.
And we'll see you next time.
Good night.